Here we are again in the parlor, this gorgeous parlor. Thank you very much, Denise, for having us in again. We don't want to leave. We love it. We really do. Well, again today we have two young voices that are going to start off. And thank you all very much for coming. And we'll start with the young voices. But don't know who wants to read first.
I'm going to read two poems. When I was younger, my mother told me we had potato picking legs. I am not sure what this means, except something about the girth of her thighs, my ability to squat. I have always been able to use the bathroom efficiently in park bushes. Never got pee on my sneakers, so that is a plus. When I was even younger than that, I used to sit in the bathroom and watch my mother lotion up her knees. Her legs smelled like vanilla, sometimes coconut. When she was done, she would flex her calf muscles in front of our mirror, pout her lips out like a supermodel, and made me laugh, looking at how strong and smooth my mother was. When I was 13, my family went camping. I was raped in Massachusetts. We were in the woods making out between a pine tree and a river. Then his blonde hands were all over my face and chest, pulling the skin on the back of my neck like a wet rag at a dish disposal hole. My limbs make angry shapes sometimes that I confuse for bodies of water. They are really just spaces he hollowed out with his fingers. It is not like I am empty, it is just that I don't know what to do next. There is the tree trunk he's got me pressed against. Then the ground he's got me pressed against. My bathing suit is wrapped around his fist like a wrecked car around telephone pole. I did not mean to steer myself here. He is pulling himself out of his bathing suit trunks, and I'm crying, and I'm barely conscious, and my fingers and feet and face are starting to tingle. The last thing I remember are both my legs becoming numb. His phantom limb touch, pine branch ghost planted in my throat for years later. There is me naked, shell of balled up flesh, tube of skin. I like to wear short dresses because sometimes I am extremely proud of my body, but there are days when my skin is still too much of a memory to be comforting, days when my legs are too much of that river to stop running. My mother has strong legs. I've never seen them give out on her or forget their own names when she calls on them. My mother tells me often that I am a temple, but I have never met a prayer more unkempt than my own body. My skin is still too much of an apology to ask for anything. My mother's body is breaking as she gets older. This is normal. She has never looked more beautiful. I have never looked less like her. My second one is also a little bit sad, but not the whole time. Just at the beginning. Slow rush. I've started calling my rapist Nancy as a way to depower him. Mostly I feel squeamish saying his name. I saw him at a movie theater 4 years after the incident. He rammed into my chest with his shoulder. I dropped my popcorn, bolted out of the theater. My friend who I was with ran after me. She hadn't seen Tristan. I reached the paved parking lot when she caught up, grabbed my collar, forcing my body to lunge backwards at a 45-degree angle, feet in front of me, the crown of my head colliding with her neck. "He was in there, wasn't he?" she asked. I think most people assume that the title I've chosen for Tristan is derogatory, like Nancy Boy, like I'm feminizing him in an attempt to deactivate his ability to trigger me. But what happened was that as my friend and I made our way back into the movie theater, where we would sit uncomfortably for 30 minutes before leaving, is that she asked me to think of something disgusting. Something that doesn't scare you at all, just really grosses you out. Now, I love my grandmother, whose first name is Nancy, but the initial image that came to my mind was of my lovely grandmother hunched over the kitchen sink sucking a chicken bone clean. My mother and I also have this habit of picking at chicken meat until it is white and bare as a pearl. Our fingers leave the carcass glistening. Grease polishes our chins and the corner of our lips. It is a trait that used to mortify me, but in young adulthood I've started to admire the ability and shamelessness in feeding ourselves. What I should have labeled Tristan was chicken bone, but Nancy was shorter and rolled out my mouth without much effort. The first time I shaved my vagina was because he asked me to. The first time I shaved my head, I was 11. Tristan spent the next 2 months yanking the pubic hair out every chance he got me alone. It's because I've got nothing to pull on the top of your head anymore. When he wasn't touching me, I ran my fingers over the clean curve of my scalp and laughed. My most recent boyfriend had never dated a girl with short hair. All his girlfriends wore it down their back like a waterfall. Because I couldn't see the back of my head, was no good at cleaning it up with a razor, he became every 2 months my personal barber. We broke up a month ago. On our last day together, we decided I need a haircut. It's just so itchy and gross. I took off my clothes in the bathroom, wrapped myself in a towel cape. He sheared every inch of my scalp. "You're so beautiful," he said, sweeping the last 6 months into a wastebasket, brushing long follicles off my shoulders. We had sex for the last time 2 hours later, after clearing all of his stuff into boxes and carrying those boxes into the car out front. It is not great sex. Nothing about it suggests a finality. It's not bad sex either. Something typical of an average Sunday morning, which, except for the boxes in my car and the empty bedroom, we could imagine it is. When he crawls on top of me, I want to tell him that I love him, but I don't. He calls me baby, kisses my breasts. When his hand reaches for the back of my neck, he laughs. "I should have waited until after to shave your head. There's nothing for me to pull." I make a fist in his hair, pull hard enough to force his face backwards, nose to the ceiling, eyes wide, then closed. He moans. Spit pools down the side of his face. His body inches deeper and deeper into mine. I push him down and climb on top, dig my hands into his chest, until ponds of white appear around my fingers and palms. He is saying, "No one makes me hard like you do, baby." He says, "Don't stop." Everything about this moment is clear, then only briefly uncomfortable. A part of me wants to hear my assailant's name when he climaxes, I don't know why. The part of me that lets my ex-boyfriend and I come on the mattress together just wants to be told, in that moment, that I'm a beautiful and resilient girl. I want someone to recognize the part of me that did not break, the piece that unfurled to expose nakedness as hard as the chicken bone in my grandmother's mouth. The part of me that loves this boy underneath my body with every soft thing my gut managed to keep alive.
I'm going to do like 2 shorter pieces and then a longer one, I think. Things I did not say to my mom during the week of my brother Elijah's suicide attempt. I'll pay the bail. Clean up the blood and broken glass. I'm sorry. It's true what they say, you know. About Elijah's hands in the body of a 12-year-old girl. I can't look at them without seeing the men I let touch me. The ones that made my sister a shell for all those years. But I love Elijah still. And the way I love the taste of my own blood, does this mean I am better now? Is enduring the ache silently the same as forgiving Mom the man's fingers are still buried in my thighs like a knife in a stomach, in the yard, like a ghost dancing in the house still. I can't sleep here. I fell in love once. She made me a forest fire, Mom. I met a man twice my age and never told you. The pulse of his ring finger in my mouth made me a dead planet. Which am I? Which one will I be with the lights off? Mom, my brother is dying somewhere and I exist. I exist. My teeth are full of hollow, barking laughter. What does it mean? He stabbed himself in the stomach 5 times, Mom, 5 times, my brother. How do I stop mourning? When will that man's fingers stop feeling like a hornet's nest in my skull every time Elijah tells me he's sorry? This is not something to be sorry for. He's sick. My brother is sick in a way that breaks things. I love him still. Tell me this means I am not broken. Tell me this means the secrets are just ash and not a river waiting to wrap my throat. Tell me Elijah is a good person, please. Tell me the grave can't stay freshly dug. Something will grow over it. I'm full of a nameless ache. Tell me this is loyalty. Tell me Elijah will be better one day so I don't run again from this house that breathes like the neck of a swamp. The quiet sobbing from the kitchen when you think we are asleep. the broken glass, the night sweat and how the floor still smells like his blood. My teeth still feel like the knife in his ribs, our private, broken family. They say it could have hit his lung. Tell me this means we are lucky. Tell me we are so lucky to have him, to be together. Thank you. I read almost exclusively off of my cell phone when I get shows, and lots of people have told me they think that's a negative quality. But I think it just means I am a poet of the modern era. Piss drunk, dead drunk, stumble drunk, pick a lock of her sullen hair in my fingers. Focus on the not-you-ness of every inch of her body. Angry drunk. Lay in the hollow corner of her Brooklyn bed, blind, drunk, flying drunk. Let her crack the skin of my chest like a bottle on the pavement. 40 drunk. Teenager drunk. Get rough. Hollow bed, bruise, northern lights, bruise, ripe plum, bruise, beautiful in a sense, drunk. Numb drunk. Sick, drunk, skin, drunk, bleed, drunk, breathe the scent of sweat and hair, drunk, eat the night, drunk, let the girl chew through the skin, bottle breaks on the street outside, be gone, gone, drunk, forgotten body, limp as a gray sky, drunk, bleed, drunk, skinny, drunk, boy, bleed, let the crimson shiver make you a different animal, small death. Thank you. And I have one last one. It's August. I'm in a car I do not know, but it smells like upholstery cleaner, which is comforting. I find chemical things comforting. I am 15. I do not know the man next to me, but he wears a button-up shirt and pleated khakis. I find a certain degree of falseness comforting here, too. I do know he is 35. I believe I am okay with this. I am lonely in a way that chews, and I do not understand consent, even when I'm the one trying to give it. I do not know that I will have a recurring nightmare where the car fills with water and the doors won't open, but he just keeps touching my thigh. He's not bad looking. This means he is not a predator. I said yes, that means it wasn't wrong. I am constantly infatuated with the things that make me a dull and boring sore. That's why I invited him to pick me up. Why I let him park me in the umbrella of a street lamp and undo his belt without asking. I say yes because I am terrified to disappoint another person. I say yes because it's past curfew and I need a ride home. I say yes because I do not know how long this will haunt me. I don't even believe I will live past high school. It will be 5 years before I begin forgiving myself for this. Before I tell my sister what happened, the way I still taste him in the body of every boy that touches me, why I can't fuck with the lights off, yes. The night still often feels like a locked car door, the blankets like a hand that swallows, but he is not an excuse to cut myself anymore. I'm learning to call my body a prayer box, that loving it is an act of defiance against him. Watching it grow skin he has never touched and not die, and grow hair he has never pulled and not die. A gift that does not die no matter how hard I have tried to let the world kill it. Some days I love everything about myself. I know that is not something he can say, and I forgive him. And I forgive the little boy still trapped in that car with no words, and I forgive the man I am that holds those scars every day. I am here as another day the ache did not swallow me. It won't. My body is not his to take. It is a gift I do not owe to anyone. I do not owe it to anyone, this small body that does not die for him, that does not wither or break, this body that blooms and blooms again, this body of tooth and nail and wing, body of joy, of sky, forgiveness, song growing louder with each summer he is further in my past, this body that loves, like a car alarm in the night, like a stack of plates shattering in a crowded restaurant, loud and messy and alive and unendingly alive. Thank you.
Irving has published 8 collections of poems. Life List from Ohio State University Press Journal Award 1987. What Binds Us to This World, Copper Beech Press 1991. Heavy Grace, Alice James 1996. Against Consolation, Cavacari 2002. Common Life, Cavacari 2006. Walking with Ruskin, Cavacari 2010. A Word in My Mouth, Selected Spiritual Poems, Whip and Stock 2013. And most recently, Only So Far from Cavacari Press 2015. New work is out or due at Southern Review, Image, Georgia Review, New Ohio Review, and The Common. Thank you very much for coming.
Hi, everyone. I won't be able to see anyone back there at all. It's one or the other. I have to either put my glasses on and see back there, or I'll be able to see this. I want to thank Pitt for inviting me and bringing the crowd. I very rarely leave my home in Woodstock. Very rarely. Pitt is one of the few people in life that would have brought me out of my home. And you know, and if I were reading by myself, there'd be like 3 people here. I'd bring my wife and maybe a kid, and that would be it. Because no one would come. Oh, I should ask you just how long I should read for, because I asked no questions before this.
2025.
2025, okay, no problem. I'm going to read a couple of poems from Walking with Ruskin, and then a bunch of poems from a new book. I'll give you a sense of what this book is about. All my poems seem to be about the same thing. Here's one that's called Why I Live Here. It should introduce you to me. Here, of course, is the northeast Connecticut. Why I live here. Because the view is always partial, small paned, the sky parceled out by trees. Because I like the gray and brown birds and how they flit in and out of my vision in the gray and brown woods. Endless versions of what can and cannot be seen. And because I like the mystery of an old truck that suddenly appears in the middle of these roadless second-growth woods, a maple sapling growing from the windshield, its back seat a storehouse for nuts, a chickadee bathing on its caved-in roof. Or how my eyes can map winter's bare-limbed roll of hills, each lost, then found again as I walk. Because I can sit in the woods and watch a white-tailed deer move from one leg to another, never once putting a foot down, always ready to disappear. Sitting there, I've noticed the brotherhood of mosses on trees and stones, and the intricate beetled life of dead trees. Still, there's always something I never quite see. A vole moving under leaves, or a grouse, I think, that's only tail feathers disappearing into a thicket of spirea. Where I live is good practice at reading from the Book of Concealments, because the ancient stories have already said how we can travel to the gods and back, or emerge from the labyrinthine underworld and still not know enough. I'm preparing for the last page, when the story some expect to be revealed in full still surpasses understanding. Here's the title poem of this, Walking with Ruskin. Does anybody know who Ruskin is? Ruskin was a 19th century guy who I loved. I went to graduate school in English, and it was one of these experimental programs, and the first thing they said is, like, you can do whatever you want. And I said, all right, I'll read Ruskin's Modern Painters. So I did, all 5 volumes, and fell in love with Ruskin, who was kind of a bit of a dandy, and, you know, but just a great, he looked at the world really well. And when I was writing this book, I thought, if we could bring Ruskin back, that is, his reverence for fact. He was as good a botanical observer as there ever was, and yet he knew that to really know something is to love it. You know, just think of your spouse or somebody that you love. You know, you don't know somebody until you love them. And it's not emotional that I'm talking about now. It's the kind of intimacy that drives you to sort of learn a person, right? That asks you for more, to pay attention in that sense of pay attention. Walking with Ruskin. So the conceit of this is I'm walking with Ruskin, who's long dead. Each day I walk for an hour or two, what started as exercise, now a matter of devotion. Or less grandly, walking gives me something to do. A kind of discipline, since I don't know how to move towards any of those big intangible goals: wholeness, God, forgiveness, justice. But I know how to walk. Sometimes I bring Ruskin along. Despite his holy striving and cloying superlatives, the greatest thing a human soul does in the world is to see something, or art springs from the most profound admiration. I like the way he forgets himself in his concern for what is particular about an eagle's beak or the green-brown coppery iridescence of a pheasant's feather. He's teaching me a kind of readiness for what comes along as it pleases. A line of ants carrying the remains of a red emerald butterfly, or a brook in winter moving under ice like the one-celled life found in a drop of water under a microscope. I like to compare notes with him, to count the shades on a kingfisher's back, or the 3 different kinds of wing feathers, but I'm still learning to look at things with Ruskin's respect for fact and his love for what's being seen. This beetle, say, that's crossed our path, its 2 topside eyes ringed in white, the lacquer of its shell a depth of black and darkest greens. Today, the July pond water looks like used car oil, and the roadside grass is a pointillist study of greens and the bright white coffee cups of Americans who run on Dunkin'. Ruskin and I are looking at clouds, a kind of medicine. Ruskin says they calm and purify, if only because the sky is large and we are not. And if I'm always half thinking of my credit card debt, or if I'm 7 to 10 years of mortgage life away from retirement, I go on crouching down for a beetle that doesn't care if it's seen, though my seeing it makes the day more real to me. Nothing much, but something I'm always thanking Ruskin for. This is a story, a couple of stories from Florida. This one's called Piano. It's a true story, absolutely true story. No one could say how it came to be there on an islet of sand just above high tide one morning. A grand piano left for some Crusoe to make sense of. The picture in the paper, a bird's eye view from one of those eye-in-the-sky helicopters, makes it seem like a New Yorker cartoon looking for a caption, or a piano looking for a gull to plink a one-note concert by John Cage. It could be an installation by an unknown artist who's waiting for someone to get what the piano is saying, or just a late-in-the-night prank of buzzed college kids looking for some music in their lives. Sure, I'd had too much wine and not enough of the Advent hope that candles are lit for. And I'll confess up front, I was without charity for our guest, who glassed in behind those black, small, rectangular frames, reminded me of those poems that coldly arrange a puzzle of non sequiturs to prove again how language is defective and life leads to nothing more than dead ends. So after a night of wondering if our never more than hardly surprised guest, a young professor whose field of expertise seemed to be ironic distance, would give a moment's thought as he took apart everyone's unexamined stances to how and why his own might be constructed, I blurted out a story over our Christmas dinner dessert about Alexander Watt, how the Polish poet, taken one day from his Soviet prison to see a local magistrate, stood in the sun, reveling in its warmth on his face and arms and hands. As he took in the beauty of a woman in a light green dress, he knew he would soon be back in his prison cell. He never forgot, he said, the irony of his freedom, and yet he felt, standing there, something like a revelation. The autumn day surging in those silly, puffiest white clouds, and a hardly bearable blue sky, and the bell of a bicycle ringing, and some people laughing in a nearby cafe, and that woman, her bare, languid shoulders turning in the sun. It was all thrilling, achingly alive, a feast happening right there on the street between the prison and a government office. Nothing else mattering, not even the moment he knew was coming, and arrived right on schedule when he stood woodenly before the magistrate. And when I had finished, my face flushed, my guest looked at me with astonishment, unable to process where so much emotion had come from, and then asked, calmly, what I meant when I'd used the word revelation. Massachusetts Audubon chart, number 1, 1898. In the corner of an antique store, it hung by a nail, this water-stained, frayed-edge chart, ingenious at getting 26 birds, from chimney swift to chipping sparrow, all life-sized, on 27 by 42 inches. Fuertes, the painter, painted his stiff birds posed in characteristic attitudes on a convenient streamside dead tree, on reeds, and on the wing in the background sky. After I bought the chart and hung it near the stairs, I found nearly all 26 are right here, going by at various times outside my window. Seeing the little golden crown on a kinglet, or the tail splash of red that sets off the catbird's silky gray, puts me in good cheer. And there's the sudden paradise of intimacy when I turn my binoculars towards a house wren nesting under the skewed lid of my propane tank. None of this is life-changing or halts the numbing dailiness of chores. But since I hung this chart of birds, I've come to think that what we know of our lives often has nothing to do with understanding, but with some accidental loveliness we put our hopes in. The excess, say, of a thrush fluting its elongated iole, or the way a flock of goldfinches yellows the air they fly through without asking. I-N-I-T, in it, which means in the sunlight. In it. I'm watching a wall of fast-moving gray-blue clouds turn into a door the sun walks through on this windy 29th day of October. It walks down the yellowing hillside and right up to a pair of scrub locusts, which are of no importance at all, and yet, wired up with bittersweets red and yellow, seem just now to be electrified by the light that just keeps coming, crossing the street, extending itself so that I'm standing in it as well, the skin on my face growing warmer. I close my eyes, and then, as if I have been sleeping in a strange place, I let the light wake me and tell me where I am. That's a new poem called Backyard Apotheosis. Apotheosis, like that kind of assumption, you know, where the divine takes over you. Backyard, you can tell I'm being a little playful since I call it Backyard Apotheosis. Backyard Apotheosis. It starts with a line from St. Catherine of Siena. Backyard Apotheosis. All the way to heaven is heaven, St. Catherine of Siena supposedly said, and on most days, replete with the stabbed, shot, run over or into, the stroked, heart-seized, and cancer-ridden, I'd say bullshit, and be done with it. But today, at the tail end of April, the sun warming things up, I'm in shorts and a t-shirt, airing my body out in a backyard chaise, ready to emerge at last from winter's long gestation in flannel and sweaters. I'm listening to the nearby maples scratch and itch against the clapboards, and a downy woodpecker's got my foot tapping. I'm letting things go, deep breathing with a Phoebe's wheezy, Phoebe, Phoebe. Game on now, chickadees have changed their tune. It's all, hey sweetie, in the shine and sheen of new leaves. A cardinal cranks up its engine, a catbird mews and whistles, and a mourning dove responds to the earth's tilt with soft, insistent coos. When I shut my eyes, the wind DJs a mix of all these singular voices, and the delirium of their song won't take no for an answer. Take joy whenever you can get it, a wise old poet wrote. And how can I refuse this day that seems shaped for my delight, this luck of the drawer moment in the sun, the air rippling with a green iridescence? So I say, I do to the day's proposal, and letting my human flesh take on the divinity of this transient rapture, I float on April's soft, warm air, even my sweat-stained t-shirt like raiment. For now, my listening body and ear that hears, the kingdom always here.
I love that 1964. I'm a big fan of Paul McCartney. He's still, all of that, whatever he's had done to him, he still looks very cute. But I love that, just thinking of that. We're going to take a little intermission, and we will be serenaded by Jim Merrick. I know he's around somewhere. He has his guitar. But I just want
Our musical guest this evening is a guitarist, banjo player, clarinetist, vocalist, songwriter, and one of my best friends, Jim Mersick. Jim is a multi-instrumentalist, songwriter, arranger, performs as a soloist and accompaniment and a band member.
I feel lucky to be here, and just going to play a few songs I like very much. Hope you enjoy them. Share of highway driving. You might say I've been a driving fool, but I never could drive far enough from you. She told me it would come to this. She reads the writing on the wall. I wish she knew how far there was to fall. Sound in the still of the morning. The night was blue and the light was dawning. I knew the voice and the words kept calling. Is this enough for you, boy? Is this enough for you? What you say, do you see what you do? I'm driving down a crowded street, with dreams of someone new. This hope of love, it frees me to feel these blues. I get confused at every crossroad. I told a million outright lies, each one little needle stuck voice and the words kept calling. Is this enough for you, boy? Is this enough for you? Do you know what you say? Do you see what you do? The wind and rain can be so vicious, but it don't hurt me like you do. I could waste my life just waiting for you to be through. I get no shame from bare survival. Most times it's all that I can do, but it never seems like enough just to make it through. I heard a sound in the still of the morning. It sounded like some animal calling low. I knew the voice and the words kept calling. Is this enough for you, boy? Is this enough for you? Do you know what you say? Do you see what you do? Decided to pick up a blues that, you know, it's always a matter of can you relate to what the performer is playing. This is a song that perhaps many of us can relate to. It's a cowboy song. Not too many cowboys here per se, but at least by dress. I went to the doctor looked sad. Looked down at my chart and he told me what I had, and it's all kinds of trouble. Gotta find you somehow, because arthritis is a thing to miss. It'll leave you walking with a double twist, and it's all kinds of trouble. Gotta find you somehow. I just love this song. Well, you can't stand up and you can't sit down. You can't tie your own shoes. You can't roll on the ground. And it's all kinds of trouble. You gotta find you somehow. Doctor, turn on that electro-stim machine. You know it makes me feel better than straight morphine. And it's all kinds of trouble. Gotta find you somehow, because arthritis is a thing to miss. You can leave you dancing with a double twist, and it's all kinds of trouble. Somehow. My friend Johnston isn't here, has graciously offered to accompany me on a song that we've been playing for a while. But this is Bruce Springsteen's song. Yes. And you'll know the song, but we kind of revoiced it. I went out for a ride and I never went back. Like some river that don't know where it's going. I took one wrong turn, I just kept going. Everybody's got a hungry heart. Everybody's got a hungry heart. Lay down your money now and play your part. Everybody's got a hungry. I met her down at a Kingstown bar. We fell in love, we knew it had to end. Took what we had and we tore it apart. Now here I am back in Kingstown again. Everybody's got a hungry heart. Everybody's got a hungry heart. Lay down your money now and play your part. Everybody's got a hungry heart. Everybody needs a place to live. Everybody wants to have a home. Don't matter what you hear or what you say. Ain't nobody wants to be alone. Everybody's got a hungry heart. Everybody's got a hungry heart. Lay down your money now and play your part. Everybody's got a hungry. Everybody's got a. Everybody's got a. Lay down your. Play your part. Everybody's got a. Called Poncho and Lefty. Living on the road, my friend, is bound to keep you free and clean. Now you weigh your skin like iron. Your breath is hard like kerosene. You weren't your mama's only son, but her favorite one, it seems. My house, you would cry when you would say goodbye. Fade into your dreams. Pancho was a bandit boy. His horse was fast as polysteel. He wore his gun outside his pants for all the honest world to feel. Pancho met his match, you know, in the deserts down in Mexico. Ain't no one heard his dying word, but sometimes that's the way it goes. All the federales say they could have had that boy any old day. They just let him slip away out of kindness, I suppose. Sing the blues all night long like he used to do. But thus it Pancho bit down south and ended up in Lefty's mouth. And the day they put poor Pancho low, Lefty slid for Ohio. No one seemed to really know how he got the dough to go. All the federal Poets tell about how Pancho fell. Lefties living in a cheap hotel. The desert's quiet, Cleveland's cold, and so our story ends, we're told. Pancho needs your prayers, it's true, but say a prayer for Lefty to see. He just did what he had to do. Now he's growing old. Few gray federales say could have had them boys any old day. They just let them both slip away. Few gray federales say could have had them any day. They just let them slip away out of kindness, I suppose. Heading a million in a drop-dead suit, Dutch pink in a downtown train, $2 pistol but the gun don't shoot. I'm on the corner in the pour-down rain. $15 men on a dead man's chest. I've been drinking from a broken cup, 2 pairs of pants and a mohair vest, so full of bourbon that I can't stand up. Hey little bird, fly away home. Your house is on fire and your children all alone. Hey little bird, fly away home. Your house is on fire and your children all alone. Schiffler broke a bottle on the Morgan's head, and I've been dancing on the devil's tail by the light of a full moon through the bars of a Cuban jail. Purple hand on a bloody knife, flamingo dancing on a cocktail glass. I'm on the lawn with someone else's wife, digging the view from the top of the mast. Hey little bird, fly away home. Your house is on fire and your children all alone. Hey little bird, fly away home. Your house is on fire and your children all alone. Yellow sheets on a Hong Kong bed, slash bow horn and a slingerland ride. Onto the carnival is what she said. $100 bill makes it dark inside. 15 men on a dead man's chest. I've been drinking from a broken cup, 2 pairs of pants and a mohair vest, so full of bourbon that I can't stand up. Hey little bird, fly away home. Your house is on fire and your children all alone. Hey little bird, fly away home. Your house is on fire and your children all alone. Hey little bird, fly away home. Your house is on fire and your children all alone. Hey little bird, fly away home. Your house is on fire and your children all alone. Your house is on fire and your children all alone. Your house is on fire and your children all alone. Thanks for listening. Second of all, thank you so much for your patience.
So Pittenger, did I say your last name incorrectly?
Vinegar with a P.
Vinegar with a P. Hittiger, what we know, is the author of 3 books of poetry, The Possibilities of Empty Space, and 9 Years Between 2 Poems, both from Andrew Mountain Press, and The Physics of Transmigration from Antrim House.
Furthering the tradition that started in this poem, and I will tell you about it at the end of the poem. There's an epigraph from Etu Gawande, who has written the book Being Mortal.
Oh yeah.
And he says, people naturally prefer to avoid the subject of their decrepitude. I've always loved the word decrepitude, but not used like this, medically, scientifically. It was a joke in my 20s and 30s. Postpartum exhaustion, a twitching left eye, inability to stay awake through Saturday Night Live, nascent decrepitude. Then humor took on an edge. If I can just limp past my decrepitudes, bone spurs, ingrown toenails. My kids, annoyed by my flawed hearing, talk softer and softer until their mouths shape without sound. Speak up, I say. Everyone roars that gotcha laugh again. And Margaret, that big, fat, hairy museum gift shop spider they hid between towels, in bags of flour, under a book face down on the bed, even in the half-gone half-gallon of Breyer's green chocolate. My heart stopped every damn time. You're shortening my life, hastening my decrepitude. Now decrepitude is something else. Arteries, veins, and joints steal calcium from teeth and bones. The brain shrinks, sloshes about inside the skull. Skin thins, blue veins rise, runnel through. Sweat dries up, and tears. Eyes cloud, ears fail more. Nerves die. Oh, good news. No more are dead than were 3 years ago. There's the innocent mole that's not, the heart with its steadfast stent, the tooth that aches each time I cough, and each time a plane ascends above 10,000 feet. Feet tingle, are sometimes numb, but good news again, they do not hurt or burn. I've become notably decrepitudinous. Each day progresses decrepitudinously. Unpredictable in specificities, predictable in inevitabilities. To avoid decrepitude, one must die young. Decline remains our fate. Death will someday come. This poem is called Compensations. A simple operation botched when you were 6 or 7 left you without taste or smell. I don't know if mine have been heightened to compensate for yours or for my own flawed hearing. Either way, I'm compelled to tell you over and over in metaphor and simile what you miss. A Casablanca is like Beethoven's Fifth amped up. Roasted garlic like Mick Jagger singing Summertime. Salt air, soft, like Brahms, like Celadon. I don't know if my compulsion to narrate taste and smell fills gaps or drives you crazy. All I know is this. In the beginning, when you experimented with your voice, volume, tone, pitch, to find the precise intonation, not whisper, not full voice, where your endearments wouldn't fall on deaf ears, something dormant in me woke. A belief that what has been lost need not be surrendered, that just as a whisper can be amplified, poetry might be practical, sense made pure and simple. It's called North of Bonina Pass. There was a late night storm in the Alps decades ago when each flash exposed chasms dropping inches to our right. When lightning finally ceased and rain came in sheets, the boy driving the car we'd rented just off base in Frankfurt stopped. "Can't see a fucking thing," he said, and went to sleep. Wind and rain lashed the baby blue Fiat, and I could almost imagine the storm had hold of the car. But it was my lover and my friend in the back seat, wrapped in each other, and the steam of the closed car, wind no match for their hungry breathing, or the rush of his skin against hers. Perhaps that's why, when dawn came, and I looked out to where the road had been, to where it now ended, a foot in front of the car, I felt no gratitude, no call to declare the miracle of that boy stopping just short of the spot where the road would have crumbled, sent us pitching a mile or more down the mountain. Even now, in dreams, when the car goes another inch or two and the ground gives, macadam and stone whirling into mud and rock and then into space, when we four lurch forward, begin the downward roll and tumble past jagged rock, when compartment flies open spilling maps and shells from the beach at Carrara, when mirror shatters and shards rake our skin, when finally all our limbs tangle in waking, even then, my fear is never of death.